Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the center of the vast council chamber, feeling insignificantly small. The room loomed high above, its seats arranged in ascending circles that vanished into shadow. Hundreds of alien eyes glowing in hues he couldn't name bore down on him. Jake forced his expression to remain steady, though his heart pounded in his chest. This was the moment Earth had worked toward. After 3 years of painstaking negotiations, today humanity would officially petition for membership in the Galactic Federation. The chamber was alive with alien sounds, clicks, whistles, low hums, and musical cadences. Jake understood little, relying on his translator earpiece to catch up with the cacophony. "Silence," commanded a voice from the High Council platform where the Federation's most influential figures were seated. The single word rang out. With authority bringing the room to an abrupt hush, Jake stepped forward, his boots clicking on the polished floor. Behind him, Commander Lisa Hayes carried a silver case containing Earth's most critical documents. Her composed demeanor and the deep blue uniform masked the nervous energy Jake knew they both felt. Honored members of the Galactic Federation. Jake began, his voice resonating in the immense chamber. "I am Admiral Jake Morrison, representing the people of Earth and all humanity. We come before you today with respect and hope." A ripple of laughter swept through the assembly, sharp and dismissive. Jake's gut tightened, but he pressed on. "For 3 years we have studied your remarkable civilization," he continued. "We have witnessed the harmony between diverse species and the shared commitment to peace and progress. Earth seeks to contribute to this noble endeavor." The laughter grew louder. Jake saw some aliens exchange mocking glances. A crystalline figure, whose body shimmered with refracted light, gestured at him with an audible sound, like breaking glass. Rising from his seat, the Zephyrian ambassador, a being of living crystal that shimmered with inner light, spoke. His voice, like a resonant bell, filled the chamber. "Tell us, little human," Vexer said. And Jake could hear the ridicule dripping from Vexer's words. "What could your species possibly offer the Federation? What grand military strength do you bring to our alliance?" Jake steadied himself with a deep breath. This was the moment he had feared. "Commander Hayes will now present our fleet capabilities," he announced. Lisa Hayes stepped forward, unclasping the silver case. From within, she retrieved a datapad and began reading. Earth's space fleet currently comprises 12 operational starships. This includes 6 frigates, 4 destroyers, and 2 command vessels. The chamber erupted into chaotic noise. Alien voices chittered, hissed, and reverberated with what was unmistakably laughter. Some beings slapped what might have been knees with what might have been hands. A colossal reptilian figure rose to his feet. His dark green scales bore the scars of countless battles. This was War Archive's scar of the core hegemony, and his yellow eyes gleamed with scorn. 12 ships? Scar's voice was a guttural rasp, like stones grinding together. Did the human just say 12 ships? My personal guard boasts more vessels than that. The laughter crescendoed. Jake's face burned with embarrassment, but he remained composed. Furthermore, Lisa pressed on, her voice straining against the din. Our ships utilize chemical propulsion systems and kinetic weapons technology. The reaction was immediate and uproarious. The crystalline being Vexer produced a sound reminiscent of a hurricane ripping through wind chimes. Chemical propulsion, he sneered. Do you hear this? They still burn fuel like primitives? From the upper seats, an elegant figure in flowing robes floated downward. This was Ambassador Quindell of the Etherians, known for their decorum. Yet even she seemed faintly amused. Honored humans, she began, her voice soft and melodic. Perhaps you misunderstand the Galactic Federation's purpose. We are a military alliance. Members must contribute meaningful defense capabilities. Your 12 little ships, she added, pausing as another alien with far too many arms interjected. Couldn't defend a single mining outpost, let alone a colony. Scar rose again, towering over the human delegation, his shadow engulfing them. I've seen your vessels on long-range scans. They're barely fit to shuttle cargo between your moon and planet. One of my destroyers could annihilate your entire fleet without a scratch. Agreement echoed throughout the chamber in a cacophony of sounds. Jake felt the weight of their disdain as though he were physically shrinking, yet his attention caught on something unexpected. Near the wall stood his aide, Lieutenant Ben Carter. Far from embarrassed, Ben was quietly observing a small recording. Device in hand, meticulously taking notes, a floating jellyfish-like being. Eyes dotting its gelatinous form declared, "The Federation maintains strict standards. Only species with real military strength may join. You humans are clearly unprepared." Crystalline form flashed with a blinding light. Perhaps he began, in a few hundred years? "When you've learned to build proper starships, you may apply again," Vexer said. His crystalline form flashing with condescension, Jake forced himself to remain calm, though he dreaded the answer. To his next question. "And what would you say humanity is best suited for?" Farming Warchief Scar rumbled, his laughter unmistakable. "Your species seems well adapted to agricultural work. Leave the fighting to real warriors." The chamber exploded in a cacophony of amusement. Aliens gestured toward the humans, speaking in untranslated tongues to their neighbors. Jake stood, silent as Ambassador Quendel raised a delicate hand. "Bringing order to the chaos, the Galactic Federation Council formally rejects Earth's application for membership," declared. "You may reapply once your military capabilities meet our minimum standards." Jake felt the blow of her words like a physical punch, but forced his expression to stay neutral. "We understand the Council's decision. Thank you for your time." The human delegation turned to leave. Warchief Scar called after them. "Don't feel bad, humans. Building a real fleet takes thousands of years. Your 12 toy ships are a good start for a young species." The mocking laughter pursued them to the exit.
Ollie.
Jake's boots echoed hollowly on the polished floor, the sound lonelier than ever. Lisa walked beside him, her face flushed with anger and shame. Just before they reached the door, Lieutenant Ben Carter caught up. Clutching his recording device, he appeared surprisingly composed, his eyes holding not disappointment but something else, something like satisfaction. "Sir," Ben said quietly as the door slid shut behind them, "I got everything, every word, every insult, every laugh. Command is going to find this recording very interesting." Jake turned to his aide, startled. "Ben, we were just rejected and humiliated in front of the entire galaxy. What could possibly be good about that?" Ben's smile was sharp and unkind. "Sir, with respect, I think they just made a very big mistake. They told us exactly what they think of our capabilities, exactly how their military operates, and exactly how overconfident they are." As they walked down the long corridor toward their waiting ship, Jake began to understand. The meeting had been degrading, but also revealing. The aliens had exposed more about themselves in 1 hour than Earth's intelligence agencies had gleaned in 3 years, and they had no idea what humanity was truly capable of. Several weeks later, Dan Mraz, Admiral Jake Morrison sat in a chair deep underground, in a windowless room lined with thick steel and concrete. Above him, the Rocky Mountains loomed under the Colorado sky. But here, beneath layers of rock and secrecy, the world's most classified operations unfolded. The meeting room buzzed with activity. Its occupants were individuals who officially didn't exist to operatives, strategists and engineers whose names would never appear in public records. They gathered now, not in despair, but with determination. Jake straightened in his chair. The Federation had underestimated Earth. It would be the last time they made that mistake. The room was silent as Jake scanned the faces around the table. He trusted these people implicitly. Director Helen Park, with her sharp gray-haired presence, sat at the head. For 2 decades, she had led the Strategic Defense Initiative, a program cloaked in secrecy. Even the few who had heard of it thought it was an ordinary research project. President Danny Walsh leaned back. Exhaustion etched into his face. 6 years in office had aged him dramatically, the burdens of leadership compounded by truths most of humanity could not comprehend. "They laughed at us," the president said, his tone neutral but weighted. Double quotes, yes, sir, Jake replied. It exactly. As we anticipated, Warchief Scar was particularly vocal, claimed one of his ships could destroy our entire fleet. Director Park's smile was cold, devoid of humor. Good. Let them underestimate us. Jake frowned. Helen, we were rejected by the entire galaxy. How is that a good thing? Because, she said, her voice calm and deliberate, now we know precisely what they think of us. Commander Lisa Hayes entered, carrying a thick folder. Dressed in the simple gray attire of classified operations, she looked markedly different, more relaxed, more in control. Lisa, the president said, gesturing for her to speak. Tell us what you've learned. Lisa spread documents across the table. The Corps' main fleet comprises 37 ships. The Zephyrions have around 60, though most are outdated. The Etherians, favoring speed, operate roughly 200 smaller vessels. Jake raised an eyebrow. How do we know all this? Lisa smirked. Because they told us. When someone thinks you're harmless, they tend to talk freely. Over the past 3 years, I've attended their meetings, listened to their chatter, and asked innocent questions. Director Park stood and activated the wall screen, revealing a star map. Jake, what you witnessed today was theater. For the last 50 years, Earth has been playing a role. What do you mean? Jake asked. Puzzled. Helen gestured at the screen, which displayed images of old, clunky spacecraft. Those 12 ships, the aliens mocked. They're real, but they aren't our fleet. They're decoys designed to look outdated and weak. Chemical engines, simple weapons, clumsy hulls, all intentional. But why? Jake asked, still grappling with the revelation. Because while the galaxy mocked our 12 ships, we were building the real fleet where no one could see it. The screen shifted to show the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Thousands of rocks floated in the darkness, appearing unremarkable. Helen called out, Chief Engineer Roy Mitchell, join us. A tall man with oil-stained hands entered, exuding the demeanor of a mechanic rather than someone involved in a top-secret meeting. Roy, Len said, tell Admiral Morrison about our real space program. Roy grinned as he opened a folder. Jake, for 50 years, everything the aliens think they know about human space technology has been a lie. Every mining ship, every cargo vessel, every research station, they've all been part of the largest construction project in human history. Jake leaned forward. Construction project. We've been building warships out there in the asteroid belt. Lots of them. Over 3,000. The number hit Jake like a physical blow. 3,000 ships? Destroyers, cruisers, battleships. Carriers and designs so advanced, they don't even have names yet, Roy said, his tone triumphant. All hidden under fake mining operations and disguised facilities. The screen displayed sleek, deadly vessels, bristling with advanced weaponry and armor that made the Federation's ships look primitive. The aliens think our largest ships are those 12 old haulers, Roy continued. They've never seen the real ones like the USS Liberty, he said, pointing to an image of a massive dreadnought. She's got enough firepower to level a continent. Okay. And the USS Independence, added another voice. Dr. Amy Foster entered her arms. Filled with technical drawings, Captain Kate Sullivan's ship carries fighter squadrons that can outrun anything the Federation has. Helen nodded at Amy. Show him the weapons tests. Amy opened her case, her excitement palpable. The room leaned in as she began to unveil humanity's secret arsenal. Dr. Foster opened the case and activated her tablet. On the screen, videos played of weapons tests conducted in deep space. Jake watched in stunned silence as explosions disintegrated massive asteroids in energy beams, sliced through solid metal as though it were paper. Our kinetic weapons can fracture a planet's crust, Amy explained with pride. And our plasma cannons burn hotter than the core of a star. We reverse-engineered every piece of alien technology we could find and built something better. Jake looked at her, his curiosity piqued. Where did you get alien tech? Crashed ships, abandoned equipment, things that conveniently fell off cargo vessels, Lisa replied with a sly grin. The galaxy is messy, Admiral. Valuable. Items get misplaced all the time. We just made it a priority to find and study them. President Walsh leaned forward, his voice filled with gravity. Jake, do you understand what this means? While the Federation mocked our 12 toy boats, we were quietly assembling the most powerful fleet in known space. They don't even know it exists. But how did we keep it secret for 50 years? Jake asked, still reeling from the revelations. Helen's expression sharpened. The same way we keep all our secrets, by showing our enemies exactly what we want them to see. Every alien spy satellite that scans Earth sees those 12 outdated ships. Every intelligence report labels us weak and primitive. Roy brought out additional images. Our shipyards are concealed within asteroid fields, disguised as mining operations. Our construction facilities look like research stations, and our weapons test ranges appear as empty space. And the best part, he said, nodding toward Dr. Foster, is that we've been monitoring their communications for years. We know their ship designs, battle tactics, weapons capabilities, and fleet positions. Jake felt the enormity of the situation crashing down on him. Everything he thought he knew about Earth standing in the galaxy had been wrong. So, when War Chief Scar claimed his ships could destroy our fleet, Jake began. He was talking about the wrong fleet, Lisa interrupted with a grin. His 37 ships against our 3,000? That wouldn't be a battle. It'd be target practice. Helen turned off the display and locked eyes with Jake. Admiral, I need you to contact our fleet commanders, Captain Rogers on the Liberty, Captain Sullivan on the Independence, and Captain Barnes on the stealth destroyer Shadow. Jake nodded. What are my orders? Tell them to prepare for Phase 2, Helen replied. The aliens have given us everything we need. Intelligence on their military capabilities, fleet positions, and most importantly, their arrogance. They underestimate us entirely. President Walsh rose to his feet, his voice firm and resolute. Ladies and gentlemen, Earth is done pretending to be weak. The galaxy is about to learn the consequences of underestimating humanity. Helen stepped closer to Jake and placed a steady hand on his shoulder. You asked how rejection was good news. Here's your answer. They just handed us the tools to defeat them while laughing at us. As Jake walked away from the hidden meeting room, his mind spun with the weight of what he'd just learned. Earth was not the vulnerable, primitive planet the Federation believed it to be. Humanity had spent 50 years preparing for this moment, building strength in the shadows. The Federation had made a grave miscalculation. It insulted, rejected, and underestimated a species capable of annihilating them. And they remained blissfully unaware of what was coming. The light of distant stars gleamed off the hulls of 37 Korak warships, their formations tight and menacing. Each vessel, built for war, bristled with weapons capable of devastating entire worlds. War Chief Scar stood proudly on the bridge of his flagship, exuding confidence. How much longer until we reach the human system? He asked, his gravelly voice echoing through the command deck. 2 hours, War Chief, replied his navigation officer, a young core with scales still bright. Green from youth. The pathetic humans won't see us coming. Scar emitted a sound like grinding rocks' people's version of laughter. It had been 6 months since humanity's humiliating rejection by the Galactic Council, a spectacle that had fueled jokes among the Federation species. But for Scar, mere mockery wasn't enough. The humans needed to be taught a lesson, a brutal one. Send a message to Korvac High Command, Scar ordered. Tell them we will have conquered Earth within the day. This will show the galaxy that the core hegemony tolerates no disrespect. His communications officer, a scarred veteran, bowed her head. Yes, War Chief.
Alward?
Scar grinned, his yellow eyes glowing with malice. Yes. Let them watch as we crush the humans. It will serve as a warning to any other primitives who dare challenge us. The Korak fleets surged through the void, their movements predatory. These ships, heavily armored and armed, had claimed dozens of worlds for the hegemony. Scar roamed the bridge, satisfaction radiating from him. Everything was proceeding perfectly. The humans' pitiful 12 ships would be obliterated before they could even call for help. Out. War Chief called his sensor officer. We are entering the human solar system. Excellent, Scar growled. What do our scanners show? The same 12 human ships we've seen before. They appear to be fleeing toward the outer planets. Scar's eyes glinted with predatory satisfaction. Of course they're running. They know they cannot fight us. Follow them and prepare. To attack? I want them to regret challenging the core. On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Admiral Jake Morrison studied his displays. Every detail was aligning perfectly. The Choric fleet followed the exact route humanity's strategists had predicted. Captain Williams, Jake said to his tactical officer, how long until we reach the rendezvous point? 15 minutes, Admiral Pete replied, his calm demeanor belying years of preparation for this moment. The enemy is taking the bait flawlessly. Jake surveyed the Defiant's worn interior. The ship's dented hull and roaring engines had served Earth faithfully, and today it would serve one final, crucial purpose. Signal the other ships, Jake ordered. Maintain the illusion. We need to look desperate. The human ships continued their retreat, broadcasting frantic evacuation calls and pleas for reinforcements. To the core, it looked like a disorganized panic exactly as planned. Scar listened to the radio chatter and laughed. Hear that? They're begging their gods and mothers for help. This is what happens to species that forget their place. As the Choric fleet closed in, Jupiter loomed ahead, its vast red and orange bulk surrounded by moons like scattered jewels. The human ships disappeared behind the largest moon, Io, as though attempting to hide. Pathetic, Scar growled. Follow. Them? I want this finished quickly. The Choric ships rounded Io, weapons charged and ready. Scar imagined the victory celebrations to come, but his sensor officer interrupted with a trembling voice. Warchef, I'm detecting massive energy signatures. There are ships here. Many ships. What ships? Scar demanded. There are only 12 human vessels. No, Warchef, the officer stammered. There are hundreds, maybe. Thousands. They're everywhere. Scar stared at his main display, his confidence evaporating. The space around Jupiter was teeming with massive human warships, sleek and bristling with weapons far beyond anything the Choric fleet could muster. Impossible, Scar whispered. A voice echoed across every Choric frequency. Warchef Scar. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Terran Defense Fleet. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now, and your crews will be spared. Scar's blood ran cold. These were not the clumsy, outdated ships he had been chasing. These were warships designed for annihilation. This is a trick, Scar hissed, though his voice wavered. Humans don't have ships like these. I'm afraid you've been misinformed, Morrison replied. To your right is the USS Liberty, commanded by Captain Rogers. She carries enough firepower to obliterate your entire fleet. To your left, the USS Independence, led by Captain Sullivan, has fighter squadrons. Already targeting your vessels? Scar's sensor officer interrupted, panic in his voice. The energy readings from their weapons. They could destroy us all. You have 30 seconds to surrender, Morrison continued, his voice calm and firm. After that, we'll show you why laughing at Earth was a mistake. Scar glanced around his bridge. Everything he had believed about humanity was wrong. These weren't primitive farmers. They were warriors. But Scar was a Choric, and Choric warriors did not surrender. All ships attack, he roared, for the glory of the hegemony. The Choric fleet unleashed everything energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human ships. The USS Liberty responded with a single shot. Its main gun fired. A blinding energy beam slicing through space. The beam struck Scar's flagship with devastating precision. In an instant, the proud vessel disintegrated, its armor and weapons reduced to molten fragments spiraling into the void. The Choric fleet faltered, momentarily stunned by the sheer power of the attack. The USS Independence launched its squadrons, sleek fighters darting out like angry hornets. They wove through the Choric formation with lethal agility, targeting critical systems and leaving trails of destruction. Scar's second-in-command shouted over the chaos. Warchief, our shields are failing. Our weapons are too advanced. Scar clenched his fists, refusing to believe what was unfolding. Focus fire. Overwhelm them. But the humans were relentless. Each of their warships moved with deadly precision, coordinating strikes that dismantled Korok vessels one by one. The USS Shadow, a stealth destroyer, appeared from nowhere, its cloaking technology rendering it invisible until it fired. Its weapons tore through 3 Korok ships before disappearing again. "Warchef, we've lost half the fleet." Scar's heart sank. Yes. He had underestimated the humans, blinded by arrogance and the belief that they were weak. Now, the full strength of Earth's hidden fleet bore down on him. Admiral Morrison's voice echoed again. "You've seen our capabilities. This is your final chance. Surrender or face annihilation." Scar's pride battled with the grim reality around him. His fleet was in ruins, his warriors overwhelmed. The hegemony had prepared him for victory, not for this. With a guttural growl, he slammed his fist against his console. "Cease fire. Signal our surrender." The battle ended as quickly as it began. Human ships surrounded the remnants of the Korok fleet, weapons poised but silent. Scar slumped in his command chair, defeated. On the bridge of the USS Defiant, Admiral Jake Morrison watched the surrender unfold. The plan had worked flawlessly, and humanity's strength was now undeniable. Admiral Captain Williams said, "The Korok fleet has powered down their weapons." Jake nodded. Good, signaled the fleet to stand down, but remain on high alert. "Let's make sure they understand that this isn't over, it's just the beginning." As the human fleet regrouped, Jake turned to the view screen, gazing at Jupiter and its moons. The galaxy had laughed at Earth, mocked its people, and dismissed their potential. Today that laughter had died in their throats. Humanity was no longer the underdog. It was a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would never forget the day the Terran Defense Fleet revealed its true power. "Send a message to the Federation," Jake ordered, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. "Let them know what?" Captain Sullivan's fighters swarmed the Korok fleet like angry hornets, their small but lethal weapons carving through armor and shields with devastating precision. The Korok warships, once symbols of conquest and power, crumbled in moments. On his flagship, Warchief Scar watched in horror as his proud fleet disintegrated around him. "Warchief." His communications officer cried, "We are losing ships too fast. We cannot fight them." Scar's tactical display confirmed the grim reality. In less than 10 minutes, over half of his fleet was gone. The humans weren't just defeating them, they were toying with them, dismantling the Korok fleet as effortlessly as a predator plays with helpless prey. "Send a message to Corps Command," Scar ordered, his voice trembling with fear. "Tell them, the humans, we're not what we thought. Warn them to prepare the home fleet." But before the order could be carried out, the USS Liberty fired its main cannon once more. A brilliant beam of energy struck Scar's flagship, splitting it in two and igniting a massive explosion. In a single moment, Scar's ship and the last shred of Korok pride was obliterated. 17 minutes after the battle began, the space around Jupiter was silent, where the mighty Korok fleet once roared with power. There was now only a graveyard of debris and the fading glow of annihilated ships. Admiral Morrison stared at the tactical screens aboard the USS Defiant. His face remained stoic, but there was no satisfaction in his expression. "This wasn't a battle," he said quietly. "It was a message." Turning to his officers, he gave his next command. "Signal the fleet. Prepare for Phase 3. The galaxy is about to learn that humanity is done pretending to be weak." Ambassador Quindell glided through the polished halls of Kepler Prime Station, her flowing robes trailing behind her like ripples in water. The Etheran diplomat had called for an emergency session of the Galactic Council, but uncertainty gripped her. The news she carried seemed almost too fantastical to believe. When Quindell entered the Grand Chamber, it was already filled with representatives from every major Federation species. Their faces ranged from indifferent to mildly irritated emergency. Meetings had become far too frequent, often over trivial matters. The crystalline Zephyrion ambassador, Vexer, was the first to break the silence. His body pulsed with a sharp, impatient light as he spoke. "Ambassador Quindell, why have you summoned us?" "There are more pressing matters than Korok war games." "This is not about war games," Quindel replied, her musical voice resonating. With an edge of urgency, "The Korak fleet is gone. All of it. 37 ships destroyed in the human solar system." The chamber fell into stunned silence. A chorus of disbelieving voices followed, each species reacting in its unique way. A jellyfish-like trade union representative released a bubbling sound that signaled confusion. "Impossible," declared General Varar, the scarred Koratari commander who had taken Scar's place. His booming voice echoed through the hall. "Our fleet was the finest in the galaxy. No primitive species could destroy it." Without responding, Quindel activated the chamber's central holographic display. A shimmering blue projection filled the room, showing images that silenced even the most skeptical delegates. "These recordings come from Captain Marden's search squadron," Quindel explained. "This is what they discovered in the Jupiter system." The hologram revealed a vast field of debris stretching for thousands of kilometers. Twisted remnants of Korak warships floated lifelessly in space, their hulls scorched with energy burns of unknown origin. Many ships were simply gone, vaporized by weapons far beyond what any Federation member had ever encountered. Gasps echoed throughout the chamber. General Varar clenched his fists, his confidence shaken. This cannot be, but the evidence was undeniable. The galaxy's most arrogant conquerors had been utterly annihilated. The humans, whom everyone had deemed weak and primitive, had done it. Ambassador Quindel's voice cut through the murmurs. "The Korak fleet underestimated the humans, as did we all. Now we must face a terrifying question. What else have we misunderstood about humanity?" The chamber buzzed with mounting unease, an undercurrent of fear coursing through every conversation. The revelation of Earth's hidden power was dismantling long-held assumptions about humanity's capabilities. Ambassador Quindel took a deep breath, her voice cutting through the noise. "We do not know," she admitted, "and that is the most dangerous part." Holographic display shimmered, projecting new images. Fragments of Korak ships floated in space, twisted and scorched. The lingering energy signatures defied known science, suggesting weapon outputs far exceeding the theoretical limits established by even the most advanced species in the Federation. "These energy readings are beyond anything we've encountered," Quindel continued. "Look at this fragment." She pointed to a twisted piece of metal, its surface marred by impossibly high-temperature burns. Its damage suggests energy weapons operating at temperatures previously thought unattainable. Crystal Singer Valara, the Zephyrion military analyst, spoke, her crystalline body dimming as she absorbed the implications. "The outputs are higher than those of our largest dreadnoughts. If the humans possess this level of technology, it surpasses even our most advanced designs." "That's absurd," General Victor growled, but his usual bluster was gone, replaced by a flicker of doubt. "Humans have 12 outdated ships with chemical propulsion and primitive weapons. They could not have done this? Then explain this." Quindel adjusted the display, zooming in on a piece of debris. Burned into the metal in multiple Federation languages were the chilling words, "Earth remembers your laughter." The chamber erupted into chaos. Shouts, clicks, and whistles filled the air as delegates voiced their disbelief and fear. The very idea that humans had deliberately destroyed the Korak fleet was too terrifying for many to process. From a hidden observation post, Director Helen Park watched the turmoil unfold. The Federation had no idea the post existed, just as they had no idea how deeply Earth's intelligence network infiltrated their ranks. "They're starting to understand," Helen said, a note of satisfaction in her voice. Captain Julia Martinez, recently returned from a mission aboard the stealth ship USS Phantom, stood beside her. "We've been monitoring their communications for weeks," Julia said grimly. "They're panicking. Every major species is deploying probes toward Earth, hoping to locate our real fleet. None of them are returning." Helen's smile was thin and cold. "Good. Let them search. Let them waste their resources and grow more afraid with every failure." Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Quindel struggled to restore order. Her voice rose above the clamor, firm and resolute. "We must face the truth," she said. "Humanity's military capabilities far exceed what they've shown us. The question is, what do we do about it? Vexer, the crystalline Zephyrion ambassador, flashed agitated light as he spoke. We must strike first. If humans have weapons that can destroy our fleets, we cannot allow them the chance to use those weapons against us. With what? General, Veeder snapped, his voice filled with frustration. You saw what happened to 37 of our best ships. How many of your vessels are you willing to sacrifice to learn how many more surprises the humans are hiding? The room fell into a tense silence. As Crystal Singer Valara, who had been quietly analyzing data, finally spoke. I have been calculating the energy requirements for the weapons that destroyed the Korok fleet, she said, her voice solemn. If humans can build such weapons, they must have industrial capabilities far beyond what we estimated. Does that mean? Mindspeaker Zeal asked, his mental voice laced with unease. It means, Valara replied, that everything we think we know about human technology is likely a facade. The ships they've shown us, their mining operations, their research stations, all of it could be false. They may have been hiding their true capabilities for decades. The trade union representatives' pale tentacles trembled. If that is true, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, then how many ships do they really have? How advanced is their technology? We do not know, Quindel admitted gravely. And that uncertainty is the most dangerous weapon humanity wields. The chamber sank into a hushed tension, each delegate grappling with the implications. The humans were no longer the underestimated primitives of the galaxy. They were an enigma, threat, and a force the Federation was wholly unprepared to confront. Continued, his voice calm but firm. Every moment spent fighting each other weakens us against the dangers that lie beyond the edge of known space. Humanity has faced these threats, not because we wanted to, but because we had no choice. And now the galaxy must choose. The chamber was deathly silent as the holographic display continued to play out. Scenes of monstrous enemies and desperate battles. It was a stark reminder of the dangers lurking beyond the safety of Federation space. President Walsh let the images linger for a moment before addressing the delegates again. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to dictate. We're here to offer an alliance built on something stronger than fear, trust. The Terran Defense Union is willing to share its resources, its knowledge, and its protection. But understand this, we will no longer be dismissed or disrespected. Humanity has earned its place among the stars. Vexer's crystal body shimmered faintly as he spoke, his voice trembling. You have shown us what you are capable of, President Walsh, but how can we be certain your intentions are benevolent? Director Helen Park answered with a steely gaze. If our intentions were not peaceful, Kepler Prime Station wouldn't exist anymore. Our fleet was capable of dismantling it before you even knew we were here. Instead, we chose diplomacy. That is your proof. The trade union representative hesitated, her tentacles curling inward in uncertainty. And if we agree to this new alliance, what guarantees do we have of your support? Admiral Hayes stepped forward, her voice measured but commanding. Our guarantees are simple. Loyalty is met with loyalty, betrayal with consequences. Join us, and you will have access to the most advanced defensive technology in the galaxy. Stand against us, and you will be left to face the darkness alone. Quindel, visibly shaken but resolute, stood tall. You have made your position clear, President Walsh. We must deliberate before offering a formal response. President Walsh inclined his head slightly. Take the time you need, but know this. The threats beyond your borders will not wait. Neither will we. As the human delegation left the chamber, the room remained silent, its occupants grappling with the reality of the Terran Defense Union's power. The once dismissed humans had revealed themselves to be a force of unprecedented strength and strategy, reshaping the political and military balance of the galaxy in an instant. For the first time in millennia, the Federation species faced a future where their survival might depend on an alliance they had once deemed unthinkable. Far above Kepler Prime, the USS Constitution and its fleet hung silently in the void, a stark reminder of what humanity had become, not conquerors, but guardians. And if the galaxy refused their offer of peace, humanity would be ready for war. President Walsh raised a hand, commanding attention. We present a straightforward choice. Join the Terran Defense Union as equal allies, sharing protection and technology, or remain independent and face the galaxy's perils unaided. What are your conditions? General Victor demanded. Equal representation for all species, regardless of military might. Shared responsibilities for defense, open technology exchange, and most crucially, no species shall determine another's worthiness for protection, Walsh replied firmly. The chamber buzzed with hushed deliberations. The delegates had braced for demands of submission, but instead, humanity extended an unexpected offer of partnership. Vexor's crystalline form glimmered with tentative hope. You could easily seize control of the galaxy by force. Your technology far surpasses ours. Why offer us a choice? Walsh scanned the assembly of once mocking faces. Because your rejection of Earth taught us something invaluable. Fear and oppression breed enemies, while respect and cooperation build allies. And allies are what we need, not subjects. Admiral Morrison stepped forward, his voice resolute. The decision is simple. Join the Terran Defense Union and stand united to safeguard the galaxy, or decline and face the future alone. You have 24 hours to decide. As the human delegation turned to leave, Walsh paused, his parting words cutting through the air. One more thing. Representatives. The next time a species seeks membership in your alliance, consider their plea carefully. Before you scoff. You never know what strengths they might be hiding. The chamber doors closed with finality, leaving the alien delegates to weigh their options. The species that had once dismissed Earth as primitive now confronted an undeniable truth. Humanity had risen to become the galaxy's strongest force. But more significantly, they understood that true strength lay not in wielding the greatest weapons or commanding the largest fleet, but in knowing when to exercise restraint and extend a hand of friendship. When the vote concluded, it was unanimous. The Galactic Federation dissolved, replaced by the Terran Defense Union. Humanity became the galaxy's guardian, with all species valued as equal partners, and far beyond the Federation's borders. The galaxy's true threats continued there. Silent march, unaware that humanity now stood vigilant, ready to defend a fragile peace.